So we got a loaded show this week. We're just going to get right into it. We can't play around. We always say that, but literally we can't play around, Harbin. Loaded show this week. Just a lot to unwrap and get into with the Tennessee baseball team. We got live golf versus the PGA, all that went down. I got to get Harb's opinion on it. So we'll just get right into this. Joined by Harb. He's back after missing last week. And special guest, T-Money Raines. Thomas Raines is back because the Vols are still playing. And we'll probably have him back for a wrap-up show too after the season's over. When it's done. Hopefully we're not done yet because the Vols stayed alive this afternoon, fellas, with a big 8-4 win. Things weren't looking good. When was that, Thomas? The fourth inning? We were down 4-0.
Yeah, third or fourth.
Should have pulled up. Yeah, we were down 4-0
when they scored got it to 4-0 in the third.
Yeah, Southern Miss scored 4 in the bottom of the third, and we answered with a 6 spot in the top of the fourth. But so what we'll do is we'll start out with talking about the games. Game 1 on Saturday / Sunday, which is today, and then game 2, which was today on Sunday, and then we'll look ahead to game 3, which is on Monday. We think we know a time. We don't know yet, but and then we're going to talk about the selection process, what y'all think about that, because that's been a hot topic all week about where this series was played at. So we'll chime in on that. So let's start with these games. I'll start with our UT baseball expert, Thomas Raines. The Vols, that was weird yesterday, stopping, playing for 13 minutes, stopping again, going back to the hotel. They waited for, what was it, 4 or 5 hours before they finally made a decision?
10 o'clock. I think 10
It was
Eastern.
late. It was very late. My family, my cousins from Louisiana went. They're a graduate of Southern Miss, or my cousin is. So she took her kids and her husband, and they ended up leaving after the second rain delay. They hauled it back to Louisiana. Actually went back today. Her and her oldest son went. So shout out to them, even though they were dressed in Southern Miss gear from head to toe. But so Tennessee came out hot in game 1, but it wasn't enough. They ended up losing 5-3. So their backs are against the wall. Game 2 this afternoon, like we said, they were down 4-0 after 3, and then they put up a 6 spot. The bats just came alive, but not. I think my most impressive thing wasn't the bats coming alive. I mean, that was impressive. Thankfully, they did. But Chase Dollander, after that happened, I tweeted, like, this is his time to shut these guys down and to put us into game 3. And that's exactly what he did. I think he retired like 17 of the last 19 batters he faced. So I don't know. What do you think, Thomas? What's your thoughts about game 1 and 2?
They looked a little flat game 1. Lindsey didn't have his stuff. He had the same issue as he did game 1 in the regional, but wasn't able to get out of the bases loaded jam like he was against Charlotte. And you're already, behind the 8 ball when you're down 2-0 first inning in, and we would get hit. We hit the ball hard a few times, but it seemed to be right at people. But then that pitcher had a really good changeup, and we just could not hit it. So,
yeah, he was good. I mean, their pitcher pitched well last night. He was good.
Yeah. I was looking when we cut it to 1 today. You were hoping to get a shutdown inning, and that didn't happen. And I think that we didn't really get it. Anything else.
I'm telling you guys, it's storming hard here in Strawberry Plains.
We didn't get anything else going the rest of the game, and then game 2 looked like a little bit more of the same until that 4th inning, and Blake Burke hit a ball off the church.
Yes.
And I think that woke everybody up. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see Burke finally hit an off-speed pitch like that, because he has really been struggling with off-speed pitches here, especially recently, but I think he probably always has semi-struggled with that pitch, but they are really force-feeding him off-speed stuff right now, but he took that slider and just deposited it. They said it was a church, but I saw a tweet. Of course, it was a fake tweet, but said he hit it all the way to the Applebee's there in Hattiesburg. There is no Applebee's in Hattiesburg, apparently. So,
but then he got a double his next at bat off a lefty.
I thought that one was gone.
I couldn't tell, but
just the way it came off of his bat and the way the center fielder reacted, I thought it was out of there. But
yeah,
still, double off the center field wall, deepest part of the park. Yeah, I thought. I mean, this was I'll be honest. I was texting Burkhart and Cruz we always text during UT games, and when we were down 4-0 in the third, I mean, I hadn't totally given up on them, but I was not feeling the vibe of this team. They just, after game one, the way they played, they were kind of flat on Saturday. They didn't look as flat today coming out. They just were behind and didn't have enough juice or enough time. But when they got down 4-0, I was like, boys, they're in trouble. This game could get out of hand in a hurry. And they answered back like good teams should the next inning. I thought just score a couple here and kind of stem the tide a little bit. Hell, they scored 6, took the lead, and then scored 2 more the next inning. Harb, did you get to watch any of the game last night or today?
Didn't get to watch. Had it on the radio. Was listening to John Wilkerson. Was actually at Holston Hills yesterday. Funny enough, the mecca of East Tennessee golf.
I heard you had a little round going there yesterday.
Yeah. Had a
My
good old day.
My sources told me that.
Right. We had a gallery. Funny enough, it was a gallery of 1. Shout out Scotty Rimmer.
I think that was my source.
It was your source. Had a good day. But anyway, didn't get to watch physically any. Listened. Just couldn't get the bats going. Sounded like that guy was filthy. Didn't see him throw. In the words of Scotty Rimmer, he couldn't break a window pane though. Said he was topping out like 87 or something. But yeah, the game on Saturday just kind of felt like road games like early and middle of the season, you know. Bats couldn't get going, pitching was pretty good. And I thought the rain delay going into this morning, I thought the rain delay could have been the best thing that happened to us. Like maybe we just woke up and remembered how to hit, you know, and that first inning out of the delay, that's what happened. But like you said, didn't have enough time or didn't have enough juice or whatever. But I was at work for the full duration of game 2, and I was trying to pay attention, but when Southern Miss got up 4-0, I pretty much quit paying attention. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of given up on it. It just kind of felt like we were a little flat. Didn't have good vibes to it, and then came out in the 5th inning and set the world on fire. And when you got a team with this much talent, you put their backs against the wall, you see what they're made of, and that was really special to see, especially out of Dolander. A lot of people's giving the offense a bunch of credit, but give Dolander a lot of credit for how he responded after that start.
Yeah, he came out and just after they got the lead back at 6-4, he just like Southern Miss couldn't do anything. Yeah. And that's what you want from your ace, who's going to be a top 10 pick. That's what you got to have out of him, and that's what he did. We are now joined by Big Montana, whose power has been out. His Wi-Fi is all screwed up, but he thinks he's got it fixed now. So, Big Montana, welcome to the show.
Listen, I'm a genius. I've been running wire. I just repowered my house, fixed the plumbing. I've got a leak here at the garage door. Water's coming in. We're going to figure that out too. Jack of all trades, master of none, boys.
They'll just get some towels out and put under that door.
Boy, what it is where my driveway is, you know, pavement, and then I have like a concrete piece there at the garage door, and water just sits there. Well, it's seeping in right now, so we're gonna have to get us a little push room here in a minute. Get a little crafty.
I've been over there before when that's done that, so I remember that.
Yeah, it'd be all right. It'd
So,
be all right. Hell, it's been the last 5 minutes.
so what'd you think about game 1 and game 2 of the Southern Miss Tennessee series?
First of all, is Harb been dipping right now, or is it sunflower seeds? What we do?
Hey, don't worry about me. He asked you a question, son.
Hey, real quick,
Listen.
I mentioned this before
Hey,
we started.
I'm growing up, Bowling. I'm growing up.
I'm damn proud of you.
I mentioned this before we started recording, but for those listening on audio, Thomas Raines, look, Big Montana, he came straight from the game. He's in full uniform.
Oh, I didn't know Thomas was even here. God Almighty!
Yeah, he's in full uniform. T-Money's in the smoky gray roads with the gray hat, orange bill. He's going to leave as soon as we get through recording. He's going back to Hattiesburg. Oh, I thought we lost Big Montana there, so he's still good.
I'm here.
All right,
I'm here.
Go ahead. Now that we've got the uniform stuff out of the way and we've determined whatever Harbin's dipping. What do you think about the games?
I thought they came out on Saturday really flat. I thought the best thing that could have happened to us was the rain delay, and it kind of proved that when they restarted today. I really thought they were going to come back and win game 1. After they made it 3-4, I was like, all right, here we go. Like, this is Southern Miss. No one gives a shit. Like, just run them over. But kudos to them. I mean, I think they're a good ball team, obviously, to be in this position they're at. It seems like they have a really good coach. They got some boys that can rake now. That shortstop they got, he's a little stud.
Dickerson, dude, he's a one-man wrecking crew.
Yeah, I mean, he's unstoppable. He just does what he wants to, puts the ball wherever he wants it. That made it second base in game 2 today that they called safe and then called him out. That was a ball play. That's for sure. I don't know. Southern Miss is actually, it's one of them teams you'd root for. I mean, to be honest with you, we're just a casual baseball fan. If they were playing LSU or anybody else, it's kind of who you want to root for. I think those guys are a good ball club.
Hold on a minute. You keep talking like that. Day Vols going to say you're a Southern Miss fan.
Well, maybe I am. Maybe I am. But no, in game 2 got away from us there in that one inning in the 3rd or 4th, whatever it was. But man, this team they can win the whole damn thing or they can get beat by 14 tomorrow. I don't know. The pitching today was pretty phenomenal except for the pitches in that one. It just seemed like the roof was falling, the sky was falling. I love Dolander's cockiness today. It reminded me of Attitude Era Stone Cold walking to the ring. I mean, he was walking off the damn mound, he was walking and talking, as JR would say. But trying to keep up with LSU game. But I was really proud of the Vols, how they answered back today. It was nice to see, and they forced a game 3, so we'll see what happens.
I do have a question. We've all 4 of us now said Tennessee came out flat on Saturday, and we said the same thing about Tennessee basketball. Why in the world in a game or a series like this would you come out flat? Maybe they just weren't playing well, but it sure looked like they were just going through the motions a little bit there, especially on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, in a weird way. Like I said,
I don't know if this like generation of kids is different and they just think they're entitled to shit or what. But that wasn't Southern Miss was coming to win this ball game on Saturday. But it just seems like if something doesn't go their way, I don't know what it is, but these guys aren't entitled to do anything, win anything, or have anything to them. They don't know what it is.
What do y'all think?
I don't know. the vibe I kind of got is they were almost treating like the first few innings as like a feel out, like they're, and that might sound incredibly stupid, but it just kind of felt like they was treating like the first third of the game, like feeling it out a bit. And like Thomas said, they hit some hard balls straight at people, but I mean, outside of that, I mean, you can't have one hit through how many innings they get through on
Like
Saturday.
5.
What are the top 5? The bottom 5 when they.
I think they're in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, I mean, like you can't have one hit through 5 innings in a super regional and expect to just turn it on. Like I understand it happens every once in a while, but you can't just rely on that. And like anytime we have a big game, you know, like we have like a catalytic inning where everything starts to click. But there's gonna be games where that just doesn't come. You know, I mean, you've got to be consistent with it. And I don't know, like Montana said, we could come out tomorrow and get beat 15-3, or we could come out and win 9-1. Now I wouldn't be shocked either way. But we're gonna find a lot out about this team and kind of how they're wired tomorrow. You know, I expect them to win, though. I will say that.
I actually was kind of upset. I mean, we had boots on the ground down there, sweat bees down there, and I was texting him, and he said it was lightning in the area. Although every time they showed it on TV, the stadium, the sun was out. It was like beautiful outside, but he did say there was some storms like south of the stadium that were heading that way. But I was interested to see how that 5th inning played out if they didn't stop it. But I know we came back and scored today when they started back. But I felt like we had a little momentum going and it just stopped right there. But you all were right about earlier talking about that rain delay. I thought was probably pretty well timed because I mean, I don't know. I thought today we were going to get blown out there for a second until we started hitting the ball the next inning. But that game yesterday could have went sideways. I think they were going to fight back a little bit, though. You could start to tell in the 4th and 5th inning they were starting to make a little bit better contact off of that guy. And you still had 5 more innings to play, at least 5 more at bats. So anything could have happened, I guess. They were just down 4 runs. So I don't know. They got to come out tomorrow as we'll look ahead to game 3. We don't know. Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong. We don't know what time yet. Is that correct?
Nothing from baseball on Twitter yet. So
yeah, the only thing I've seen is from that
5 o'clock.
Allen. Yeah, the only thing I've seen is from that Alan Bell guy saying 5 o'clock Eastern. But Tennessee and Southern Miss, neither one have put anything out yet. So I guess they're waiting for the official word. I don't know what they would be waiting on.
maybe the
LSU Kentucky game.
Well, yeah, I guess they're waiting on that one. I'm trying to.
Stanford still has a game, but there's
that one too
for sure. But
because all the others, Oregon and Oral Roberts, which
that'll be game. That's a game 3.
yeah, that one will be done, and everything else is done except us, Stanford, Texas, and it looks like LSU's probably going to win, so that one will be done. So we could be the only game tomorrow. I think Texas wins.
Texas,
and that one was over.
Game.
But if Stanford wins tonight, then there'll be a game, and I would say that one would be later than ours.
I think a game 3. Yeah, that's in Stanford, so that'll be a 9 o'clock game probably.
So I would assume we're 5 or 6 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Be dumb not to.
Yeah, you can't have this game at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's nowhere for them to go after this, so it really doesn't matter what time you play. Because they're not going to play till Friday or Saturday anyways. I would assume the series that end tomorrow, however the matchups work, they might play Saturday. I don't know that it really matters in the grand scheme of things, but I don't know. What do y'all think? Tennessee's pitching is set up pretty good for Monday, and I hope people listen to this on Monday, because if they don't, it's going to be pretty silly listening to it on Tuesday or Wednesday. But I think Tennessee's pitching sets up pretty good on for this Monday game 3 with Drew Beam, and you've still got Camden Sewell. You've still pretty much got Burns because he didn't. What did he throw?
6 pitches, I think. 6 or
Pitches
9
today.
pitches.
I mean, he didn't throw anything.
You've got everybody back, but Andrew Lindsay and Chase Dolander. I mean,
and you won't have Halverson. Maybe.
Probably not. If you need him, you need him. But if you need him, then you've got some problems.
I think. I
was gonna say if we need him, it's going downhill quick.
I think if you're throwing Halverson, you're either getting shellacked or they're in extra innings or something.
He's not going to throw Halverson if we're down double figures because Tony looked out for the pitchers. That's the one thing he's done his whole career is look out for the pitch counts, and he doesn't overwork any of his pitchers.
Well, and you still got guys. You got Kirby Cannell. You'll have Dylan Sechrist out of the bullpen that can throw.
You got AJ Russell.
AJ Russell's out of the bullpen that can throw some. I mean, they're more like hitter to hitter type guys right now. But
Russell's your probably next year's rotation. He's going to be in the rotation next year. He'll be joining the rotation with Beam and probably Burns again.
What do you think Halverson's role is next year?
He goes pro, I think. I don't know if he has any years. I don't think he has any left because he's technically.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It'd be nice if he could come back because I think he'd fit right into the rotation.
So I think that Southern Miss will start this Nico Mazza cat. He's got a 5-1 record, a 4.13 ERA. Here's a good stat for me, good for us. His WHIP is 1.48. That's pretty high. Anything around 1.5 is not good, in my opinion. So he's hittable or walkable, whatever you want to say. So I think Tennessee's I feel like they've got the upper hand tomorrow. They're the home team, even though it's at Southern Miss. I think we've got the upper hand on.
I think that's the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah, I don't. We talked about this last year because I don't.
If you're hosting, you're the home team.
That's the way it should be, but it's like my uncle said last week. It's socialism. They're trying to give everybody a chance, and I get the model of it.
Yeah.
I get it. They're both 2 seeds, but there's a reason you gave them the home series. So just give them the home advantage.
Well, here's my question. If you are going to have both teams get at least one game where they're the quote unquote home team, why don't you do the host as home team for games 1 and 3 and the away team?
That's what we're saying. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
I personally think it should be the host, the home team every time, but that's my opinion.
I think. Go on.
This is just another general question. I think I know part of the answer, but what was the decision for this to be a Saturday, Sunday, Monday series instead of Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
I don't think that was answered.
I don't think it ever was. I'm guessing
it's got to be TV purposes.
I think mainly it's TV, but I think too they were probably throwing because they can't play every series on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, they could, they just couldn't cover it all. So they do 4 and 4 on Friday, Saturday.
I mean, do they pick the ones that think are going to be sweeps and do them Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or I don't know.
It's the NCAA, man. There's no rhyme or reason to what
it didn't make no sense. And also, depending on who you ask, how the series is in Hattiesburg in the first place don't make a whole lot of sense either. I haven't really read much into that, just to be 100% honest with you, so I don't really know the decision behind it. But knowing the NCAA, there probably wasn't much criteria involved anyway.
We'll get into that shortly because that's a whole nother topic that's got Tennessee fans all riled up. But I don't know. I do think it's kind of goofy that Tennessee is on the road playing at Southern Miss, who's the host, and they're the home team for 2 out of the 3 games. I mean,
and they got it because of a coin flip.
Yeah, a coin. 2 was it 2 coin?
2 coin tosses. Yeah, we won both coin. We won the coin flip for who gets home first game, and then the coin toss for who gets home third game.
I mean, that is stuff we do. That is stuff we do at Parks and Recreation when you have 2 teams playing at a park. that there is no home field. It's like, all right, we don't know
I
who.
think it was because we're both 2 seeds, and it was just if it were at, or like Oregon or Roberts, or Oregon's the higher seed, so obviously they're going to be home for 1 and 3. But because they're both 2 seeds, and you just chose a regional or super regional location, but I don't know. I mean,
so quickly, does Tennessee win on Monday? I don't care who answers.
Yes.
Harbin.
Yes.
Thinking about it.
They should. I'll put it that way. I don't have a damn clue, just to be honest with you. And I don't think any of the 4 of us do. But our best against their best, I believe our best is better. We have more talent, and when it's winner take all, you got to take more talent. I'm taking the Vols.
Thomas.
I'll go with yes.
I agree too. I think these two teams are fairly.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're fairly even. I just think Tennessee's the better team, but if they come out on a slow start again, they could be in trouble. They need to come out, and I'm not saying they need to come out and jump all over them. They just don't need to fall behind.
They need to come out and jump all over.
Oh, well, they do. They just don't need to fall behind 4-0.
We'll score 10 in the first and end it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Unless you're Oral Roberts and you score 8 in the 3rd inning, and then you get beat.
We are 1 win away from Omaha. Let's hope they get it.
2 out of 3 years.
That would be 2. Yeah, second time in 3 years that the Vols have traveled to the great state of Nebraska.
So if Tennessee does make it to Omaha, I know you like to compare every coach with upside and promise and years of to Barn foot in the grave, and his career was 20 years ago. Does Tony Vitello done, if he gets Omaha, is that good enough for you to say that this was a successful season? Because I mean, the teams that are going to be left they're all going to be great. Would love to see them go on and win a couple of seasons, win the whole thing. But in my mind, I think Tony has done enough, especially with this team on how it started, and basically what he lost last year too, to give him the nod and say this was a season for the Vols.
I just want to get one thing straight. I don't think it's not a successful season if they don't win on Monday. I think it's been a very good year. It's been up and down. But I think it's been a very good year. I think the thing I get frustrated with is, and he could put a lot of this to bed, Tony Vitello could, if they win on Monday. But since he's been here, and I need to go back, like if you told me when we hired this guy who'd never been a head coach before, great recruiter coming from Arkansas, that we would go to 4 straight NCAA tournaments, win the SEC title, regular season and tournament, and go to, what is it now, 3 straight super regionals, and go to 2 out of 3 if they win on Monday, College World Series, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know if I'd have been able to contain my excitement. So you got to look at that and say, this guy's done a fantastic job here, much like Rick Barnes has done a fantastic job with the basketball team. I mean, Sweet 16s, ranked number 1 multiple times. He's winning 25 and 30 games every year. He's won the SEC title. I mean, it's the same thing. But I get frustrated, and we've said it on here back during basketball season, that Rick Barnes gets crucified all the time for not going past that mark. And sometimes rightfully so. He's done it a lot. But you talk to people, and they're like, oh, this guy's just not going to do it. We need to move on, blah, blah, blah. But Tony Vitello in his short career here has kind of done the same thing with his teams. But he could erase a lot of that talk, which it's not much of it. But I have seen a little this weekend that if they were to lose, they're basically losing in the Sweet 16 again, which is not – think about it, though. That's still – they're one of the last 16 teams playing in all of college baseball. Same thing with the basketball team. When you say that part out loud, it sounds a lot better than – oh God, we just lost to Florida Atlantic. Or God, we
Yeah.
lost to Notre Dame last year in baseball. But I think he could put a lot of that talk to bed from people like me. But I guess I get frustrated because it's almost like there's a double standard here. Is it because he's hot? I don't know. But he doesn't get the same amount of criticism that Rick Barnes. I guess it's because he's coached 25 less years than Rick Barnes. But still, it's the same thing.
I think that's I think with like Tony Vitello, there's a huge upside to him because of age. He's a young cat, and I aggravate you guys about this, but I think Rick Barnes it's not really fair because the guy is a good basketball coach, but I think it's because he looks like he's, a Baptist deacon, and looks like he's 89 years old and death eating a cracker, that people are just get so fed up with it because they want, it's a little bit more energy. I think that is one reason that it is. But like Rick Barnes, it gets no credit for what he's done at Tennessee. They always want to talk about Texas and all this other, but I mean, if you do look at his stats and look at what he's been able to do, minus, the whole second round Rick thing, I mean, it's pretty impressive. But the other thing too is the guy that's cut in the best conference there is for basketball, in my opinion. Just like Tony Vitello is coaching in the best conference for competition is just getting tougher, especially in basketball, I think. But that's just my opinion.
10 years ago, the SEC was not anywhere near the top of basketball conferences, but I think the Big 12 is probably a little better, maybe the Big 10, but the SEC is in the top 3. They've surpassed the ACC. For sure, and the Pac-12.
Oh, yeah.
Pac-12 is not good at all.
I think SEC and Big East are tied for this, or 2A and 2B in basketball. I think both of them are a little bit better than the Big 10. Big 10's a little top heavy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But Big 12's gauntlet. But going back to the Vitello thing, smaller sample size, younger. And our baseball program was in absolute shambles when he got here. Worse shape than the basketball program was when Barnes got here, and that's saying something.
I disagree with that.
I mean,
I disagree with that because really the basketball team had 6 or 7 scholarship players when Barnes came in.
Yes,
Thomas may know more than I do about that, but I think Serrano being in Knoxville. I don't think he left the cupboard all that bare, but a lot of people left when Donnie Tyndall was let go. A lot of people left that basketball program.
For probably the 10 years before Vitello got on campus, it was a 50-50 chance if we were going to make the SEC tournament, which I understand the SEC is always good, but I mean, we were bottom of the barrel.
And that was with 12 teams.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, I mean, I really don't think either one of them deserves to get a lot of flack. I mean, obviously there's moments where they should, but as a whole, man, I mean, we've got it pretty damn good across the board.
Oh, it's like,
it's not even.
Montana said it last week. He said, we're blessed right now, this whole athletics department. Hell, I was watching the NCAA track and field yesterday, and we had some girl, I can't remember what event she was running. She finished 3rd. I can't remember the last time I've seen a Tennessee track and field athlete finish on national television and something, but across the board, Tennessee volleyball is good. Obviously, Lady Vols basketball is on its way back up, hopefully. They're playing pretty well, top 4 in the SEC. Lady Vols softball just got off a College World Series appearance. Tennessee baseball is what it is. We know that. Men's basketball, football's on its way back. I saw we just hired a new rowing coach. Golf is great. Tennis.
I mean, we have a chance to have a New Year's Six Bowl win, Sweet 16 appearance, Women's College World Series appearance, and Men's College World Series appearance, and people are still going to find a way to bitch about that.
So I found one. They had, I think it was Tennessee, TCU, and Alabama both went to the Sweet 16. I'm sorry, New Year's Six Bowl and the super regionals. But if you look at it, the only 2 schools to go to the super regionals, New Year's Six Bowl, and Sweet 16 in men's basketball is Tennessee and Alabama. They were the only 2 that can claim that. I don't know. You want to throw women's basketball in there? We may be the only school because we went to the Sweet 16 in the women's basketball tournament. I'm pretty sure that's the only school that's done that. So I don't know. It's really good right now, and I hate that. I mean, I think our coaches. I love all of our coaches right now. I love all of them. I think they've got us in a good spot, and we need to do whatever we can to hold on to them unless they retire. And then once they retire, I think they've left these programs in better shape than they found them, which is what you want. So putting that aside, a lot of controversy this week we talked about just a second ago, Harbin brought it up, with the selection process of Tennessee having to travel to Hattiesburg for the Super Regional. Both are 2 seeds. So they took bids from both schools, compared the bids, talked about it, I guess. I don't know what else they did between then, but they chose Hattiesburg. I think I said on this week or last week's show that that's what was going to happen. My simple reasoning for it was it's a feel-good story with their coach retiring. Southern Miss's coach is retiring after the season's over. I just felt like they were going to send that series down there because both teams on paper are fairly even numbers-wise, even though we might have an edge in every statistical category, but we're right there with them. The ballparks are pretty similar seating-wise. We'll get to the other part of the ballparks in a minute. But I just felt like they were going to give Southern Miss that series because of their coach retiring. I don't know. What do y'all think? It went back and forth all week that Tennessee fans felt like they got hosed. Of course, we felt like that with everything, especially people on Twitter. We feel like the NCAA is out to get us all the time. I don't know where that's come from. I mean, I can kind of see some of it with some decisions that have come down over the years. I just have a hard time believing that the NCAA is sitting around like, let's see how we can get Tennessee this time. I just don't believe that. Maybe I'm naive, but I don't know. What do you all think? Was the selection process flawed? Like, what's going on here?
I don't think you can answer that question because we don't know what the criteria was and why they decided on either, Hattiesburg over Tennessee. I do know that their average attendance is more than our largest ever because they bring in extra seating, but I don't think we can really answer on, why they chose because they didn't give a reason.
No, they didn't. I mean, they posted some stuff during the broadcast today that the criteria that was possibly used, but I don't know. I mean, I looked at it this way. The thing I was more mad about that the NCAA did was how the debacle, not just at Hattiesburg yesterday, but at LSU with the rain delays. They delayed the LSU game, which was supposed to start at like 2:00 Central Time, and it never rained. It never stormed. It never did anything down there. And then they played it at 10:00 Eastern Time last night. Those poor LSU fans, I shouldn't call them poor. I mean, I don't know how they walked it back into the stadium last night. They were down there tailgating all day long. And I saw an interview where a guy was outside Alex Box Stadium, and there were several people that left and went home because they're like, I can't do this. This is too late. I'm going back to the house, whatever. But I don't know what the NCAA was thinking on that one. And I don't know why they took so long, one, to decide whether or not they were going to restart the Tennessee game. And two, why they didn't feel like they could move that game up Saturday. Because if you look at the forecast, sorry, we lost Harbin there, and now he's sitting in the dark. He must have lost power. But
we've got a personal hotspot going off the iPhone, baby. Don't you doubt it, country boy.
Country boy can survive, even in these modern times.
Son of a gun.
We'll have Hank Jr. rewrite the song to have something about hot spots or something.
I believe it's a Remington 69 song. I think they already have one.
But anyways, I mean, I felt like I just felt like they could have moved that game up Saturday and got the majority of it, if not all of it, in before those storms hit yesterday afternoon. And I know it's TV deal and all that, but I don't know. Big Montana, what did you think about the selection process?
I think it was really even to get really that mad about it. I think you're right. I think his last year coaching had some draw to it. And, you know, one of these days we might be in the same position. Tony Vitello will be 60-something years old, and this is his last hurrah, you know, and we would want that situation. I honestly think that it could have been used as a bulletin board material, if you will, for our guys. Hey, they thought you weren't good enough to host. What are you going to do about it? I really thought that Tennessee was going to come out and beat the snot out of Southern Miss on Saturday and today. I don't know. Listen, you can't leave it up to somebody else's hands, man. You can't leave it in referee's hands. You can't leave it up to a coin flip. That's how stuff can go your way. If you wanted to host, should have won more games. That's the way I feel about it. At the end of the day, do your business. Don't let somebody else do it for you. If you don't mow your own grass, somebody else will mow it for you. That goes a lot of things in life.
Well, I think another thing I was frustrated with was when, and I don't think overall this is a big deal, but they had Tennessee. They don't have visiting locker rooms at Southern Miss. That's an issue to me if you're wanting to host what do they do when they host a just flat out regional there with 4 teams, not just 2, but 4? What do they just sit out in a parking lot? This is like a freaking summer league baseball tournament where you got teams hanging around waiting for the next game to start, and they're just sitting either out in their cars or they're sitting in the stands watching. And I felt like it was a little chicken shit that Tennessee had to sit under the bleachers yesterday while it was storming. And then they did between games today, they were doing it again. And I get it.
Yeah.
They don't have that. And that can't be the whole criteria for hosting. But you got to have something better in place if you're Southern Miss and the NCAA. If there's a weather delay, where are these guys going to go? Like, you can't throw them under the bleachers.
Where do they go if they get hurt?
Guess they just deal with it there in the dugout. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, if I break my ankle coming around second base, I'd hope I can go into an air conditioned room and, you know, be given some morphine or something.
I was
you know what I
was
mean?
watching the game with my dad today, and I said, how do they not have a visiting locker room at this level of baseball? And at Southern Miss, I know they're in the Sun Belt, but my God, they're not that low down. It's not like they're I mean, I could see Oral Roberts not having a visiting team dugout, but Southern Miss, a team that's been good for so long. But my dad said, well, they're in the Sun Belt. What do you expect?
Well, I mean, shoot, build a cinder block building, throw a little insulation, stick up a roof, throw a little shingles on it. It's better than sitting under the freaking dugout, letting homeboys spit cup and Bud Light run through the cracks on you. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Harbin, what do you think about all this mess of the NCAA picking Hattiesburg over beautiful Knoxville, Tennessee?
I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate here. I feel like a couple things went into it. One, Southern Miss won their conference. We did not. Didn't even have a great showing in the tournament, where we lost our first game. I know they looked at stadium size, and I know it's not substantial, but they did have more seats. Yeah, I don't really think it was the quote unquote screw job that a lot of people are making it out to be. I know I've seen some things where some kid that used to play for Southern Miss's dad was on the committee or something. But if you just look at it simply like conference champion versus at-large bid, I don't think it's a screw job. I really don't. Also, 3 weeks ago, nobody thought we'd even be in the realm of possibility of hosting a super regional. So, not really that upset over it. I think this team knew that their path to Omaha was going to be away from Knoxville, and it's really all I've got to say about it.
And that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think us going to Southern Miss is a screw job at all. I mean, we weren't seriously considered as a host for a regional. So why would we be considered as a host in a coin toss situation for a super regional when Southern Miss, from what I've read, was like one of the 3 teams. They were one of 3 teams that were considered that weren't picked for a regular regional. That was kind of what flipped it for me.
You want to talk about a screw job? Indiana State caught a massive screw job. Now, I don't know what the NCAA's criteria is. For those that don't know, Indiana State hosted a regional. They won the regional. They got linked up with TCU, who's the 2 seed in the Fayetteville regional. Terre Haute had a previous commitment of hosting the Special Olympics this weekend, so they didn't have the hotels and whatnot. Tell me how in the world, instead of letting the team that was supposed to host, you just immediately go to the visitors team, to the visitor team's ballpark, instead of finding like an Indiana or a Purdue or a Notre Dame or somebody within 2 or 3 hours and let them host there.
That's a very good point, because I had read that if Duke won and advanced to where they would be potentially a host, that they had put in a bid to play the game at Durham Athletic Park where the Durham Bulls play, because there's more seating. So I had a same question about that. Is there not a minor league stadium somewhere near Terre Haute that they could? There may not be. I don't know.
Just literally anything besides handing TCU hosting a super regional.
The way I understand it is
It makes no sense.
Indiana State didn't even put a bid in to host. They just said we can't host. That came from the NCAA. He said they'd never put a bid in because they knew logistically they wouldn't be able to handle it.
Well, that's dumb on their part then. Surely God, the AD could call up another AD of a team that's not in it or didn't even make the tournament in general and be like, hey, you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours in the future somehow. I don't know if the NCAA would even allow that, but surely God, you could figure something out. Keep it in the state of Indiana as opposed to going all the way down to damn Texas.
And they got swept.
Yeah. I
mean, TCU beat them 2-0.
I don't know. That just felt like a massive screw job. I didn't even know the Indiana State didn't even put in a bid at all, which
yeah, they did not.
That's kind of dumb on their part, but surely God, they could have figured out something to keep it within a couple hours of Terre Haute.
You would think, I mean, as I would have tried if I was AD to try to find a minor league stadium or something nearby, kind of like Duke was trying to do with Durham Athletic Park there in Durham, but I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I just know they said they did not put a bid in, and so they just sent the game to Fort Worth. So too bad on them. I mean, it's their own fault. So looks like we got some finals. Thomas, I guess LSU's won.
I don't know about that. They were up 8 or 11-3 or something, and then Oral Roberts has beat Oregon.
We got a 4 seed in the World Series. The first one since what? Stony Brook, 2012.
I don't know the answer to that question.
I think I saw that yesterday. The last 4 seed was Stony Brook in 2012 to get there.
They're a good team.
No, they're good. They've been good for a while. They win their conference pretty much every year.
They won 21 straight until Friday night when they blew an 8-run lead. So.
What about old boy that's got a 47-game hitting streak? I saw that earlier, and that blew my mind.
Did he get a hit today?
From Texas?
No, for Oral Roberts has a.
Well, this guy for Texas had a 39-game hitting streak going into last night, but he didn't extend his streak. He got intentionally walked in his last at bat, and he was 0 for 3.
It's
They
like
won.
back
I mean,
and
they
won that
won,
game,
so it
too.
didn't matter. But
some stat it said I think it's the fourth longest hitting streak in like NCAA history, or at least since like the 50s.
that is pretty wild. 47 games. That is crazy. That is wild.
That one
He,
cat,
he,
I
he
forgot.
extended it. He extended it last night on a home run to bring him within one. I think I saw.
So we've got LSU in the College World Series. Oral Roberts, Virginia beat Duke. Wake Forest in a football score beat Alabama 22-5. You just hate to see that.
They hit 9 home runs today.
That is wild.
One grand slam.
And then on Saturday, you had Florida taking down South Carolina to advance on. TCU, as we mentioned, moved on. So far we've got TCU, Florida, Wake Forest, Virginia, LSU, and Oral Roberts. So there's 2 spots left to get. Tennessee, and we could be the only game in town tomorrow night on Monday night.
Texas is currently up 2-1 in the top of the 4th against Stanford.
So we could be the last bid, the last entry into the College World Series elimination chamber, Harbin.
I was thinking more of number 30 for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking. But yeah.
If we make it in, I believe if we win game 1 and Wake Forest wins game 1, I think the way our bracket fits up, we play the number 1 overall seed at game 2.
Because we would play LSU if we win. If we win tomorrow, we'll play LSU in the first round.
Is that a 3-game series too?
Double elimination.
Elimination.
It's basically what they do is they break it up into 2 4-team brackets. And then there's crossover in the losers bracket. I think there's a crossover game there. Loser game 8 and 7 or something like that would play each other. But we would be in there with Wake Forest, LSU. Let's see, 1 versus 8. Who would be the 8 seed coming in there? Not Virginia. They would be
Stanford's the 8 seed, so it'd be Texas. Stanford or Texas.
Yeah, we'll have it'll be Tennessee or Southern Miss, Stanford or Texas, Wake Forest, and LSU. That would be our little quad there. So because Clemson, we were in their region, they're the 4 seed. So 4 versus 5, 1 versus 8. So there you go. So that's what we got to look forward to.
So Paul Skeen, game 1.
So they do it based on what regional you come out of?
No, it's seeding. It's seeding. But when those, like Clemson was the 4 overall seed. So, if they would have won and LSU would have won, the 4 and the 5 would have played each other first round, but they just keep it going from whoever wins that regional.
Gotcha.
Do the last two teams, do they play a 3-game series or is it just double elimination?
It's the 3-game series championship.
It's just like softball.
Okay.
Best of 3.
Okay.
But it could take, I think it starts Friday, Thomas?
16th, Friday.
And then it basically goes all week. It goes all the way into that next Monday or next Tuesday, because our last time Tennessee was there, we had talked about possibly trying to go out there that next week if they got there, but they played on Friday and lost. And then I had tickets to the first race back at Nashville Super Speedway. Me and my dad went on Father's Day, and Tennessee was playing while the race was going on. So I'm watching the race. I'm in the stands watching the race, listening to the game on my headset, like I'm back in the 90s at Neyland Stadium, listening to John Ward call the game while I'm sitting in the stadium. But, we lost 2 games in a row and never got to that next week. But usually you don't play like every single day back to back. They kind of break it up a little bit. But yeah, that thing will go. You get to that championship series, it goes into the next. You're there basically 2 weeks almost. Well, not 2 weeks. It's like 11, 12, 13 days you're there. But we got to win tomorrow, guys. We got to win on Monday. If you're listening to this, hopefully it's Monday. You're listening to this going into work or you're coming home. Well, if you're coming home, you're probably listening to the game at this point. So hopefully the Vols can get it done. All 4 of us think Tennessee wins against the Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles. I just think Tennessee's the better team. I think they find a way to get it done tomorrow. We just got more horses we got bigger and better horses in the stable. Southern Miss is a great team, though. You get to this time of year, you can't go wrong with some of these teams. But I just think Tennessee's got a little bit more in the tank than Southern Miss. But don't expect the Eagles just to lay down and play dead. I hope they do, but they probably won't. So, any closing thoughts, Harbin? I kind of ran out of time on the live thing here, but quickly, thoughts on the live PGA? Because I know you've been very passionate about it this week.
Massive week in the golf world. In the grand scheme of things, this could potentially go down as the biggest week in golf history. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that, whether it's good or bad. But quick clarification. I think if you keep up with this, most people know this. The PGA and LIV are not merging. The PIF, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, people that pump all the money into LIV, their whole goal when they started this quote unquote Super League 3 years ago or whenever it was to just get their foot in the door so that they could get money into the golf world. And they started LIV as like a disruptment just to kind of piss off PGA Tour and wait on them to fold. And that's exactly what happened.
They did.
Jay Monahan, known hater and loser, was very vocal about shaming people for taking Saudi money and all that good stuff. And tone changed quite a bit this past week. Depending on how you look at it, it could be slimy, it could be desperate, whatever it is. But he made this decision with Jimmy Dunn and one or two other people and did not let any of his players know. And the players that stayed on PGA are extremely pissed, and they have a very valid reason to be. But we'll see how it all unfolds. LIV is still going to be a thing going into 2024. No clue how long it lasts. That will be interesting to see how that dissolves into the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour. But it has been fun watching Rory McIlroy sweat over questions over a podium. Because he is also a known hater and loser. So, wild week in golf. Kind of excited to see how it goes. Also, full swing cameras were rolling in players' homes and cars and in the clubhouse at the RBC Canadian Open when the news was broke. So, whenever that footage does come to Netflix, that will be must-see TV. Yeah, wild week in golf.
So I was telling Burkhart, or maybe it was Griff, and Burkhart. I can't remember who I was texting or not. Like of our generation, even Harbin, you're a little younger than us, but still, I include you in this because this hasn't happened in any of our lifetimes. The last thing that I can think that's similar to this was the AFL NFL merging, and maybe I think ABA NBA was before AFL NFL, but AFL NFL merging, which I know this isn't a merge, but it's somewhat similar. Like we've never seen anything like this in our lifetimes.
WWA,
Every other,
WCW.
well, yeah, you could say that. I mean, seriously, you could say that. I didn't even think about that one. That's a good point, Big Montana. But
what did he say? I didn't hear him.
WWF, WCW.
Yeah.
But I mean, most of the time, a rival league just folds and goes out of business, and they're never. I mean, some of their players might get gobbled up, but not their rights or how they're governed or anything like that. So that besides that one, which is a good point, I mean, it's not happened before. So that was the monumental thing on my end was the implications of that. And we can talk later because I think we'll have a more long-winded conversation about LIV and PGA because there's people we know that are full-on PGA, I guess homers, you might say, but have been in the PGA's court. And then there's people like Harb has been a follower of LIV and not a fan of Rory McIlroy, but there's people now. I can already tell, we were talking earlier, the golf trip this year is going to be electric because there's going to be heated conversations about Live and PGA Tour. I can already see it coming. It's going to be fantastic.
I just can't imagine being a guy who was standing on point for the brand and turned down all that money to go play over there. For instance, Tiger Woods turned down what, $750 million. And I know that it's Tiger Woods, but for less than a year later, and the company that you were being a poster boy for just folded and just become a cuck, and then there you are, didn't get a check for any of it when you could have made a ton of money. I'd be pissed off. I'd be asking, where's my check at?
But see, I mean, that's the thing I've kind of felt bad for Rory about a little bit, was that he did put his neck out there and stand up for the PGA. But it's like Nick Bernard and I were talking. I was like, hey, he made a business decision here and it didn't work out. I mean, there ain't I don't agree with okay, you didn't go to Live, you stayed loyal to us. Here's a check. Here's 20 million or whatever it may be. I think there needs to be, and I did see this, Harb, correct me if I'm wrong, that one of the rumors floating around is the players will get equity in the new company, supposedly, which I can get on board with that as a player in the PGA Tour.
Also, the big rumor going around, and if this is true, this is wild. PGA was going to dig their heels in the ground and not do anything, but Liv came to them and had a written agreement with John Rahm. John Rahm was going to go to Liv for $300 million. And Monahan pretty much deemed he pretty much looked bigger picture. He didn't want to lose his number one guy. So if that's true, that's absolutely wild. And it makes sense because Rahm's best friend is Sergio. He's very good friends with Phil. Phil's brother was his coach at Arizona State. It makes a lot of sense, and that rumor has traction. So if that was actually what happened, that's wild. And one little written agreement caused the biggest sports merger of our lifetime, like you said. The whole thing's interesting, and eventually all the details will come out. It could be a month from now. It could be 5 years. I don't know. But one day we'll get all the details, and I'm just eager to see how it all went down.
It'll be interesting. It was definitely a wild week. So we got some heavy storms that picked back up here. So I'm going to cut this thing off because I feel like my power could go out at any moment. And my computer just told me it is 69 degrees outside right now. The perfect temperature.
Nice.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this thing up. Huge game on Monday for the Vols. We'll see if they can take care of business and get back to Omaha. Thomas, we'll have you on next week to talk about either we're going to be in Omaha talking about Omaha or we'll wrap up the season. So you'll be back next week. And Harb, glad you could join us with no power. All I can see is your face and your hand. Love it. And Big Montana fought through the storms to join us this week. Appreciate everybody listening. Watch us on YouTube, or if you don't want to look at our faces, just listen to us. But we'll be back next week. Go Vols. This has been the Section YY8 podcast.
Go Vols.